Good evening. Welcome to the City of Polaris County Commission for the month of June. I was thinking to say July. May we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Hernandez,
Here.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Present.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Here.
Chair Shively.
Present. We can have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from Commissioner Jimenez.
Please stand.
Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There's no item 5, no presentations. If we can go to item 6, consent calendar. Any member of the commissioners have any errors or omissions that we need to discuss? Hammond, or excuse me, Hernandez, do you have any?
This is Hernandez. Nothing on my end.
All right, thank you. If we can have a motion?
Jimenez moved.
Hammond seconded.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Sorry, yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
With a vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
Thank you. If we can move to item 7A, tentative track map 37803, TTM 19-05223, a proposal to subdivide 53.15 acres into 145 single-family residential lots with 10 letter lots A through J, located at the southwest corner of Metz Road and A Street, north of San Jacinto Avenue. The applicant is Steve Letwich and JC International Group. Do we have any ex parte communications?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Hammond, I have to recuse myself and live in close proximity to this location, so I'm going to leave and hopefully I won't go to sleep too long.
All right, thank you. If we could have a moment while Hammonds exits the dais. Do we have any other ex parte communications?
None for me.
Thank you.
This is Hernandez. None for me.
All right, thank you. If we have a presentation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. Tonight, we're here to consider tentative track map 37803, and the applicant is Mr. Steve Letwich from JNC International Group, who's in attendance in Zoom tonight. The current project site is located at the southwest corner of Metz Road and A Street, north of San Jacinto Avenue. Currently, the project site is currently zoned R6000, which allows a conventional single-family residential neighborhood, such as the one we're going to consider tonight. To the north is also R6000, and to the east is public and also R6000 senior housing overlay. To the south is the R10000, and to the west is R10000, R6000. Some of the surrounding land uses, here's a picture just showing north of Metz Road. Currently, there's vacant lots and also single-family residential homes. Here's looking south just across from San Jacinto Avenue with any existing single-family neighborhood. Here's looking east towards the senior housing residential neighborhood. And here's looking west along the foothills, which has actually a large amount of rock outcroppings. So the tentative tract map 37803 is a proposal to subdivide 53 acres into 145 single-family lots and 10 lettered lots, ranging from 6,000 square feet to a little bit over 19,000 square feet and with an average of 7,000 square feet. The areas shown in gray in the exhibit are pretty much undevelopable, which will be maintained by an HOA. Those areas typically have a numerous amount of rock outcroppings and very steep slopes. There's also 2 points of access, one along San Jacinto Avenue, which is, I believe, going to align to the street to the south, and there's another point of access on Metz Road, which aligns to McKimball. City Parish staff has reviewed the project, and it conforms to the R6000 standards for the minimum lot size, lot width, lot depth, lot frontage, and also the density which is allowed in the R6000 zone. With that, staff recommendation, the plan recommends that the Plan Commission adopt a resolution recommending that the City Council adopt mitigated negative declaration 2352 and approve tentative tract map 37803 based on the findings contained in the resolution and exhibits. So I'm here to answer any questions that the commission might have, and also the applicant, Steve Letwich, is in attendance in Zoom.
Any questions for staff? Hernandez, you got questions for staff?
No questions for me.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Thank you. One of my questions was on page 11 on the online document. I noticed that one of the entrances is aligned to another entrance across the way, and I wasn't sure if that was safe or if there was going to be some kind of signal for right of way, just because, you know, two intersections, if two people are trying to turn left, it could get a little bit crazy.
Yes, it's pretty much standard practice to align any type of entrances to reduce the amount of, stop signs. So the city engineer actually provided some input during the design of the track map to pretty much align them, and also prevent any type of from maneuvering of different types of on the entrances. So with that, it actually prevents conflicting cars from having an offset and conflicting with each other, making a left-hand turn or a right-hand turn, and that's the reason why
It was aligned?
Yeah, aligned.
Okay. Also, I noticed that the surrounding areas in the front, they were going to be with the pilasters every 100 feet. But I didn't see that for the back. I didn't see specifications for that. Is that just because it's not visible to the street?
Yeah, so right now, this is basically just for the track map, but as it pretty much gets finalized, we go in more in details. So that condition is just to pretty much let the developer know that they have to provide pilasters every 100 feet. Not necessarily us, we don't typically give that detail for a track map at this phase, but we usually do it after it's been finalized.
Oh, okay, because I saw the specifications for the front, but not for the back, so I wasn't sure. Also, the traffic flow, there's 145 lots and there's only 2 access points. That seemed a little bit concerning. I'm assuming there was some kind of traffic study done or somebody was consulted for that.
Yeah, I would like to refer that question over to our city engineer. Maybe he might have an answer.
Good evening, Chairman and Planning Commissioner Jimenez. The points of access actually to exit the site, those are determined by our fire department, and it's based on number of units. And I think based on this track, there's 2 points of access supposedly be adequate per fire department.
Okay. Those were my 2 main questions. And I noticed that there was an attempt at trying to be more energy efficient, but I didn't see solar panels. I saw a few things on there. Was that something that they were going to consider at all?
Typically, solar it's It's a requirement.
Yeah,
It's a building code requirement.
typically the building code nowadays requires new homes to have a small solar panel for new subdivisions. But typically we don't condition them, but the building code does make a requirement for them.
Okay, well, those are my only questions. Thank you.
Do you know if the applicant wishes, what are they going to do with the larger parcels that are preserved by the HOA? Are they going to leave them as is, or are they going to do some revised landscaping?
So based on my conversations with the applicant, maybe he could, elaborate a little bit more when he comes and answer some questions. But as of right now, those areas are pretty much left alone and undeveloped. However, they're going to be maintained by the HOA. So if they have overgrown vegetation, then typically they'll go out there, to remove weeds by a weed whacker or something like that. So just to remove it from any type of fire, fuel. So.
The existing residences adjacent to the parcels, is there an existing fence there?
I can't recall. I know that, let's see here, the street to the south, it just basically has a dead end. However, the applicant's intending to pretty much provide some type of wrought iron fencing, to prevent.
They're going
They're going to provide wrought iron fencing in some parts, to prevent any type of trespassing.
so the two properties that are adjacent to each other are going to, with the existing parcels and the new parcels, are going to share in a wrought iron fence?
I don't know in detail. Maybe that might be a question we might want to ask the applicant, since he's representing the owners.
Okay. So there will be streetlights, of course, as required by the city engineer. And then this map that we have here, I just wanted to clarify that all the interior landscape parcels are maintained by the HOA, but all the two Mets and San Jacinto landscaping will be maintained for 1 year before it's being turned over to the city, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. No further questions from me. Is there any other further questions from staff?
Mr. Hernandez, none for me.
All right, thank you. Is you okay?
One more question. I noticed that when they were talking about developing the streets, a lot of them said half right of way, 50 feet, half right of way, 43 feet, half right of way. Would you elaborate a little bit on what that means?
Yeah, that's a city engineering question. I'm going to defer it over to John.
Commissioner Jimenez, the right-of-way dedications that we require is for half width along their property frontage, and those are rights-of-way per the general plan designation, roadway classifications and designations. Those are along Metz Road, A Street, and San Jacinto Avenue. So half-width dedication is what's required as part of this development. And of course, full width would be required within the tract.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Does the applicant wish to speak on your project?
Sure. I guess in regards to the questions about the fencing, there will be a perimeter fence around the property.
I'm sorry, can you go ahead and state your name real fast, please?
I'm sorry, Steve Latwich, UCI Properties.
Thank you.
Yes, so there will be a perimeter fence around the property. And then in regards to the green belt areas, there'll be whatever prescribed landscape is required, especially for any kind of erosion control. The planting will be according to that and will be maintained by the HOA as Mr. Nathan has stated.
So what is your idea for the preserved area, the two more rocky areas? You going to leave them as is, or do you just natural landscaping and then maintain them as needed?
Yeah, I think it's going to be more to maintain the look, the existing natural look. In addition with implementing whatever erosion control planting might be necessary to support the slopes. So, I mean, I think that's a design that's a work in progress.
And you plan on having a description of how you're going to maintain that in your CCNRs?
Yes.
Okay. What about the adjacent homeowners that you're abutting to? You plan on having a wrought iron fence back there, or is there something existing currently? What is the plan behind that?
Yeah, I think the opinion was to use, like Mr. Perez had stated earlier, wrought iron fencing, so we're not obstructing views, and are able to keep trespassers out. So that's the initial thought process.
So the neighbors that you're abutting to will be able to see into your backyard. How high is this fence that you're looking at?
It would be a typical 6 foot.
Okay. Commissioner Jimenez?
Were there any discussions with the adjacent landowners about what they would prefer, or any kind of discussions about what might be the most feasible in that area? Or will there be, if there haven't been?
Well, yes, I believe we'll definitely have some conversations. We haven't gone to the level of designing our fence plan just yet, so there's just been preliminary discussions on that. We're going to be looking to accommodate the neighbors. So yes, that's something yet to be determined.
Okay, and then I noticed that there was 2 lots that are the grayed out area. One of them has easy access because of the slope, but the other one, the smaller one, doesn't seem to have a real access point for landscaping or taking care of it. So would that mean going through one of those property owners' lands?
Yeah, we'll have to provide the access through an easement between the properties. Not a legal easement, but just a accessible point, an access point. So we'll provide an access point for that maintenance.
Oh, okay. Okay, because I didn't see that anywhere on here, and it seemed like, 2 lots might have to be cut a little bit narrower, just to make sure that there is an access point back there.
Yeah, and again, that's we haven't designed the fence plan just yet, so obviously we'll have to provide an access point.
Just real quick, I just want to elaborate. There is a condition for all the perimeter walls should be block wall, and then all the internal lot between the senior home and this subdivision should either be wrought iron or vinyl fence, just because we know some people want privacy between the existing residents and the future development. But there are some lots here that kind of abut the residential development where there's a dead end street, and those would be block wall. So
Lots
the
13
way
through
the
25.
way it's conditioned, we would want those to be block walls.
Yes. Thank you. That's kind of what I was getting at.
Yes.
And those are lots 13 through 25.
Yeah, I was saying all the perimeter fencing is required to be block wall. All the fencing that abuts the senior home community will be either wrought iron or vinyl fence, because we understand that some people want privacy from.
We need, she needs to come during,
Yeah.
she needs to come to the podium and make those discussions, not right now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, go
Um,
ahead.
So looking at it a little bit closer, there was these lots that are already built, and they're in pink in that slide, or the surrounding area perimeter is pink, where there's, I guess, a little bit of a slope. That's what the pink is indicating, right? I don't know if we could get to that slide. That one. So where like the gray area is heading north, there's that little pink area where there's a little bit of a slope. Would there be fencing in that area there? And what kind of fencing would that be? Because those neighbors were already there. Is that considered a perimeter wall around?
But she's talking about lots 13 through
Yeah,
25.
just north of the gray area, those would either be vinyl or wrought iron, because that's the project perimeter.
Okay, so it's part of the perimeter?
Correct. It's the perimeter of their, yeah, that's the landowner of the subdivision, so yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm just trying to wrap my head around where we would have block and where we would have either vinyl or wrought iron. What's considered like technically the perimeter of the area?
We can elaborate with the applicant, but just by looking at this, we would, by the pink just north of the gray area, that'll all be vinyl.
Okay,
Should provide privacy for the existing neighbors, plus a privacy for the new subdivision.
right,
As you go up the slope, if there's no visibility, then they can put the wrought iron,
okay.
because it's going to be hard to build, because there's some topography there.
Oh, right,
And so just areas where that's kind of flat and that you don't have visibility between the existing homes and the future homes, then there'll be a vinyl fence there.
oh, okay. That's what I was kind of getting at, and I like the idea of the wrought iron fence in some areas, so you could still kind of get a pretty visual if there's some landscaping. Thank you.
My assumption too, Mr. Fong, is that the preserve area next to the existing subdivision will most likely be wrought iron.
We have to just kind of sort that out. For example, that gray area in the middle, just from a standpoint of just planning, typically you would have it adjacent to the lot, but the areas adjacent to the existing senior homes, we'll just kind of leave that area alone unless the planning commission, we can work that out to put the wrought iron adjacent to them so that, because that's private property, will be maintained by an HOA. We can sort that out, or unless you want any particular preference, you can identify that to us so we can work with the applicant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lethwich, those two preserved areas, will they be accessible to your HOA members, or is it basically only there to hold as a preserve?
I believe we'll leave it as a preserved area, not necessarily accessible because there would be too much liability with the rock outcroppings.
Okay. All right, thank you. You have further questions? Commissioner Hernandez, you got questions for the applicant?
No questions on my end.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lethwich, do you have any further comments before I open it up for public comments?
Yeah, I would only mention on the new lots that we're going to build, the fencing between the units is always going to be a solid fence for privacy. So I was mainly referring to the perimeter of the entire project, the boundary fencing, as being, it'll probably be a combination of block and wrought iron, so we can maintain the visibility of the natural hillside.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right. Any member of public wishing to speak on this matter may do so. If you would like to, ma'am, you can. Okay. Right. If you would, sir, please state your name. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. If unfortunately, if she wants to speak, she'll have to come to the podium. Thank you. Go ahead, if you could, please. Thank you.
470 Crown Ridge Road. Oh,
Thank you.
I'm Diane Clark, 470 Crown Ridge Road. There's a open, this is Lot D, open area there, and there's quite a few senior, that's where, our backyards feed into an area that's really dear to us. Of course, the whole place is dear to us, but so evidently that's the area that is going to be, because the rocks are very difficult there and very steep to our benefit, I guess. And so, this has been over decades now that this has been a sacred and serene source of serenity. I know there's people that bought their homes, some of our neighbors, because of the rocks out there and the open space. We actually don't just look at it, we use it for peace of mind. So the absence of it is going to be, if we don't have access to that, it's going to be very life-changing for us.
So my question would be, you say you need to put wrought iron and, or some kind of borders around the whole perimeters of the project. What would the actual, I mean, how can we be assured that maybe there's some way we'd still have access to that? Or would we be on private property now if we go past our backyard hill and that's it? We just have to just look at it and we don't get to, take advantage of the fact that you're not going to put lots there, is basically my question. Anybody know?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I would suggest that in terms of procedure, we go through all the public comments, collect the questions, and then after that, we will allow the applicant to essentially rebut or answer the questions if he so chooses.
Right.
And then we can go from there. And then once that is done, we can then close the public hearing and then redirect for Plan Commission deliberations.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Right. Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Tom Parker. I'm representing the First Congregational Church, which is on the corner of A and San Jacinto, which we would be on the eastern southeast corner of the project. There is our objection is that in the middle 90s, we had a record rain, and there is a spring that comes up there that flowed through our property, down the driveway, onto A Street to July. The grade behind their project, it goes up into a hill. To the north, there's another grade, so it drains that thing. Now that San Jacinto is raised, it puts the water course in a natural occurring stream bed. And if you look on the old maps, it shows a dirt thing on our property. That's where the water runs. That's our objection. I've talked to Steve about several of the things. I've gotten competent answers on it. The runoff, the HOA, the maintaining of the bank. But the problem could be water. And it's not 100-year rain. It's when we have some rain. And it's a spray. I can't tell you where it is. And if they build on top of it, Mother Nature still wants to run her water as she has for centuries. So that's our complaint. Thank you.
Sir. Anyone else wish to speak on this matter? Sir.
Clark, 470 Crown Ridge Road.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Peter Clark, 470 Crown Ridge Road. I've probably spent more time on this property than anyone. I've been walking my dogs out there for 12, 13 years, once a day, twice a day, once in a while. And first of all, I would like to say that the development that we are in had no fencing whatsoever when our parents moved into it. There was no fencing. So yes, there's fencing there now. The lot that I live on, there was no fencing and it's eroded away. I don't know how you're going to put a fence in the back of me. And like I was saying before, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to stick around there. It's just too confining for me. So, and the other thing too I mentioned earlier is those dead-end streets in our neighborhood. People do not like them because the trash trucks have to back up on one side of the street, come all the way back down, and then go back up the other side. And in the morning, you can hear the bells going, and then the people at the end of the street, because of all the turning around, have the chains across their driveway. So there's nowhere to turn around on these streets. Anyway, I guess that's about it.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you. Steve, do you wish to rebuttal on some of these comments?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the lady's name. I think it was Diana, the first lady?
Yes.
Diane. Yeah, so obviously we've got liability concerns. It is private property. We do want to be accommodating. We're going to have to look into what our if somebody were to get hurt on that property, that would be our concern. So I'm not sure how we mitigate that concern and still give you the serenity of the space. But that would be something we're gonna have to look into. We're open-minded. If there's a compromise, maybe we can look into selling that portion to your group. I'm not sure how to handle that. But at this point, I think our biggest concern is gonna be the liability of somebody getting hurt on our property. At this point, it's obviously private property. So not trying to take that away from you, but it is a development. So we'll definitely be open to whatever we can do to assist. But I think one of the ways that we're going to try to maintain that, like we talked about, is the open wrought iron fencing, so it's not completely obstructed. As far as the accessibility, that's something that we're going to have to determine. In regards to Mr. Parker, yes, he and I have spoken many times. And as I've assured him even earlier today, we are going to be neighborly. We are there to accommodate the neighbors. And so if we've done extensive studies, we did not find the natural spring that Mr. Parker speaks of. However, in the grading process or in the course of construction, if we encounter that, we will do what we need to do to make sure that the water is diverted away from his property. And we'll take whatever necessary steps necessary to accommodate and make sure that their property is not the ill benefactor of a situation from a spring that nobody had identified up to this point. So we're open to working with Mr. Parker and the Congregational Church if a problem arises in the future. And then Mr. Peter Clark, I'm not sure what I was supposed to address in that regard, but the fencing plan again will, is a work in progress, and we will make sure that you have a legitimate fence along your property line.
Okay, that's fine. One more comment on what you were talking about before, on the drainage.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I think at this point in time, everyone has wanted to speak on this item, has spoken on this item.
Yes.
So
I just want to say on that drainage problem, it's changed over the years. When
Right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, before we move on,
Yes.
Perhaps the applicant would like to respond to
Yes.
that comment.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, Steve, what he was saying?
Yeah, I'm not certain of exactly what he's talking about. We did do extensive studies. Again, we will deal with anything outside of the study materials we've already provided, and we will accommodate and be neighborly. So at this point, my reaction is, we will take care of matters as they occur if there's anything that we're not aware of.
Yep, thank you. At this, Steve, you have any further comments you'd like to discuss?
I'm sorry, who was that addressed to?
That's you. I'm just wanting to see if there's any further comments you'd like to discuss.
No, I think that's good. I just want to, reemphasize that we're looking to be a neighborly developer. We want to, we want our neighbors to feel good about the project, and we're gonna do our very best to be very accommodating as long as the requirements, are, make sense, and it's not requiring us to work some kind of a miracle.
Right. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it to commissioners for discussions. Commissioner Hammond, do you have, excuse me.
Have it.
Commissioner Hernandez, do you have any discussions for commissioners?
No, I don't have any items to discuss.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Well, I am sensitive to, it was, and I don't think it was clear if it was always private property that belonged to someone else and they just, we walk on it, I mean, because that's stuff that we all do. So I don't know if that was the case, or if it was always private property, or it wasn't, and it was just now brought up as an issue. But I am sensitive to the group of people that have used it up to now, and, you know, we do want to use nature, so that I am a little bit sensitive to that. I don't know if there's much we can do because it is private property. I appreciate that Steve is open to maybe finding some solutions or a way to try to have as a happy consensus as possible. The only thing was with that stream too, he did make the comment about, you know, they find it during grading, but there wasn't anything that, you know, what happens if they don't find it when they're grading, but then a year later, 2 years later, that's what happens. I don't know if they're still open to trying to find a solution at that point.
If I could just elaborate real quickly, there was a drainage analysis. I'm not sure it's referring to the stream or not, but there was a drainage analysis that assumed that there was a fairly high volume of water that runs through the church currently. But with the storm drain and V-ditch design, it would significantly reduce that water flow through the church property. So I believe that might be related. So there was a study that addressed that issue. I'm not sure if it particularly refers to that stream he's referring to.
Yeah, I saw that study and I saw the documents for it, so I don't know if it was the same stream or one that just happened every now and then. So I think I wasn't sure about.
Commissioner Jimenez, if in case of any tributary runoff, all that will be collected by this development. So nothing will be discharging, even if right now there's tributary runoff going towards the church area. But all that would be actually collected by this development, and actually is collected and treated and discharged. And they're conditioned to provide for storm drain system to pick up the runoff. Now, if there is any springs or anything to that effect, the only time we would actually have access to anything would be based on a design, that would be during the grading activities and earthwork activities. Then we can detect if anything.
Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify, only the water that is collected on the property will be collected and cleaned and dispersed.
Correct.
To
Any
their-
tributary and generated runoff is collected by this development. Correct.
Anything outside of it will still may maintain and flow to the church property, so.
Correct. If any areas that, is not part of the development, that's right. Those discharges will remain.
Thanks, sir. You have any additional?
That was it for me.
Okay. I'm very concerned with what the adjacent properties will have. I'm sure, a fence diagram and a fenced submittal will probably take care of that. And it sounds like they would like to maintain visual of the preserved area in some of the higher elevations with the wrought iron fence and CMU around the rest of the perimeter of the property. So I think they're trying to, for the enjoyment of their HOA members and outside public people, they're trying to at least achieve the goal of visual sightlines. So they're doing the best. I feel they're going to do the best they can to maintain that privilege for everybody, and to work with everybody on that as well. I welcome the new subdivision that's forthcoming here, and they got some large lots here, which is great for some people, and the smaller ones for ones that really don't want the large lots. But I think it's the property is very accommodating. I think it'll work well for the city of Paris. So I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's well suited for what we need. Right, I don't have any further comments. If any other commissioners need to discuss something, please do so now, or we can go ahead and go to a vote. Commissioner Hernandez, you have anything further?
No, nothing further from me.
All right, thank you. Jimenez?
I just wanted to add, I want to echo what you said, where, they met all the minimum requirements for the area. They're trying to do the best they can. I did appreciate that even though that preserve is just going to be used as a preserve, they're still going to maintain to avoid fire hazards and try to mitigate some of that. I really liked the variety of the sizes, and there really wasn't any other issues. That is one thing I think that as a commission we've tried, where if it's zoned for a certain amount, and this one is right along with what it's zoned for, I think it's a welcome development for that area.
Thank you. If there's no further comments, if we can bring it to a vote, we need.
Oh, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Sorry. I know that Steve said they're looking to work with the surrounding community members to maybe come up with something. Does that need to be added in, or?
Yeah. You want, we, how do you want, we can put a condition for them to work together. Yeah, we can definitely put a condition that they would work with the neighboring residents to figure out a fencing plan that would try to keep everybody happy. I mean, that's something that we can do.
Right, and I understand then access would be, because not even their HOA members are going to have access to this area, so access to that area because of the risk potential is potentially not going to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a risk. We actually drove out to that site, and I mean, the rock outcropping, ideally you don't want someone to walk on there, because it's not just potentially unsafe for the people who live in this community, but also the neighboring. And I understand no accident has happened, but there's always liability with things of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I do want to clarify the action for the Planning Commission. It's a recommendation to the City Council. So the Planning Commission in that capacity acts as an advisory body to the City Council. You actually won't be approving the project in that sense. You're just recommending to the council.
That's correct.
And then regarding the condition to work with the applicant, we would probably put it in a condition 35D, fencing visible from public view. Then we can add in some language that they'll work with the neighboring property owners.
Right. Thank you. With that being said, can we have a motion and a second? And Hernandez, if you wish to motion, you have to speak up.
Hernandez, I motion.
Thank you, sir.
So just to clarify the motion, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
The motion is to adopt resolution number 21-03, recommending that the City Council, based on the findings contained in the resolution and the attached, adopt mitigated negative declaration 2352 and approve tentative tract map 37808, TTM 19-05223, subject to conditions of approval with that one modification that we had just discussed.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Jimenez, I second.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
With a vote of 3 yes and 1 recusal, this motion passes.
Thank you. If we can have a brief moment while we bring Commissioner Hammond back.
Mr. Chair, do you want to take a,
Brief recess.
say, three-minute recess?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Oh, yeah.
I love KFC.
Okay, if we can reconvene.
I don't know how long they said that time was for.
3 minutes. We did move. Wow.
I think it moved and they say they're from the last.
If we can go to item 8, a business item, there are none at this time. If we can go to item 9, public comments. Anybody that wishes to address the planning commission regarding items not on this agenda may do so at this time. No, ma'am. Okay. Seeing no members of the public wish to speak on items not on the agenda, I'll go ahead and close public comment. If we could bring it to item 10, Commissioner members, meetings, announcements, and reports. Commissioner Hernandez, do you have any information you would like to share with us?
Yeah, no, nothing to report on my end.
All right, Commissioner Jimenez?
It was really nice today. Today was our distribution pickup for awards and stuff at our school, and it was so nice. I mean, it was hot. It was crazy hot, but it was so nice to see the kids' eyeballs at least, because they all had to wear masks. But I hadn't seen them in a couple of months, and it's amazing how much they grow. Looking forward to next year we'll be in person, but it was just really nice to see our community out there doing a little bit more. Still haven't tried Chick-fil-A, drove by there twice, lines were crazy. But looking forward to things going a little bit back to normal or back to normal soon so that I can enjoy seeing students and community members.
Good.
That was it for me.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Hammond?
Yes, I got to be recused a little bit more often because they have chocolate stuff back there and icing. So I don't mind being sitting back there for a while. But yeah, I got to stay out of it. Start gaining weight back there. I'm glad to see there's so much happening in the city of Paris. Today, I think Paris High School had graduation going on. It was good to see that they actually, now I don't know if they just probably walked through or they had the visual, I'm not sure, but I didn't see a lot of people in the benches. So but at least it's starting to get back to where I think Paris High School was over there doing it. And interesting, right after a week, Memorial Day weekend. But that was nice to see, and it's encouraging. And I think some of the projects going up, all these going up, everyone keeps asking about KFC, my goodness, and Little Caesars. We have fast food people here. But the positive things that are happening and that are really good happening, and I think Ghetts Road being another one of them. And a lot of development on my side. Of course, I can't participate, but there's a lot of development going on in the city, residential. I did also, and I'm just saying this because it's a really interesting weekend. My daughter had a graduation from Long Beach State, because I graduated there. And it was at Anaheim Stadium. I only mention that because obviously they separate themselves, but the apartment thing is a great thing to see for this, if you have a tour, hint, hint. Massive amount of apartments. So if you want to, I don't know, if it's 60, 70, 80 density units, that's probably a place you want to see right down Catella. Now, you're not necessarily going to be doing that, but I think that's one of those examples of really pushing it's almost a city within a city. They have like 4 different buildings there. So when you talk about density, that's real density. But I think it might be a good idea, and I know it's a long way, but those are some real stacked apartments. And I know it's by Disneyland, come on. But I think one of the things you take from that is you're looking at the housing element and things like that. You want examples of the extreme, then you want some more realistic examples. And somewhere in between there, you start looking at what it means to really have multifamily housing and developments in the city. So that was a good thing. So it was quite a Friday between the two, anniversary the same day. So yeah, the same day. So I was like, what do you choose, your daughter? They can't choose your daughter. They not choose. They had no choice. They had to celebrate with that. But that was good, and I think it would be a good thing to see something like that, even if you go there just a few hours and come on back and see some realistic things out here. But what you can do in terms of design and what you can do, but I think one of the things that lacks is landscaping, open courtyard, areas like that have to be incorporated, not just buildings, because you look like the old New York where you just stack them, stack, and you don't have open space, or downtown Los Angeles. So green space is a consideration that you would have to have out here. So I think that's one example of a place. And I think we have a city attorney that already knows that. But that is when you talk about apartments, that's packed in apartments, and that's probably thousands of people in there. So if you want to increase your numbers in your head, so you get these big stores and things out here, you start looking at that number. You can't do that in a lot of places here, but you can look at the design and increasing density, and that's an example. So I had a good weekend, and that was good to see. And I think the only question I would have is just, and I'm sure he's going to do it, a follow-up on the ultimate thing, the planning commissioners, and what's going on with that. So I'm not sure where that's at, but I'm good. And as we move on in the month of June, and we have a wonderful one right here. We'll see what happens.
Yep, to phoning back on Commissioner Jimenez's graduation. My daughter did take the graduation walk today, thankfully. She did well. I'm proud of her. She did. She actually got an award for Outstanding Artist Media for the 8th grade, so that was good. And then a couple of other ones, all A's and no missing schools, so that's good. So,
Good.
can you tell us an update on the widening of Ghetts Road, if that would be possible? No, they had 2 groups of people, and each member of the class had 2 guests. The rest of them did a virtual.
Yeah.
That's what our district is doing, and my daughter's performing on Monday for 2 graduations with the band. So we're gonna have like a live band.
Wow.
Could the city engineer fill us in on the Ghetts Road
Chairman.
widening?
Chairman Shively, good evening. I don't actually have an update, but I can find out more and provide you with information next Planning Commission hearing, if that's okay. Otherwise, I know the project is ongoing. Other than that, I don't have any other information on it, but is that what you wanted to know, Chairman Shively?
Not exactly, but you'll fill us in next meeting.
Okay. So basically, I'll provide you with some
Just an
information
update,
about.
see how it's going, when the completion time and all that stuff.
Sure, I will. Okay.
I don't have any further comments. If we can go to item 11, Director and Development Services reports.
Good evening, Chairman Shively and members of the Planning Commission. It seems like a lot of people are graduating, high school kids, college kids. Even my daughter, who graduated kindergarten, it's not as exciting, but unfortunately, I had to work that day, so I couldn't attend her kindergarten graduation. Just for some information, the Planning Commission appointments, that will be happening next Tuesday before the council meeting. There will be a special meeting that will be set. Tentatively, it will be at 5:30, but I think further information will be provided by our Human Resource City Clerk's office. As for the tour, Dwayne Hammond, that's a great comment. We do intend to do a tour, and we'll explore looking at Anaheim and probably even Santa Ana, where our current director previously worked, so we'll explore that. But we wanted to wait until the nomination of the new planning commissioners before we do something like that. As for just upcoming projects, for Planning Commission, just for your schedule, we have June 16th meeting, so we have a pretty full agenda. I think we have 4 items. I just want to highlight some of those to you. We're working on an ADU ordinance. We'll hopefully have that on June 16th, and we have some industrial projects. So there will be at least 4 items for the Planning Commission on June 16th. And then we're getting pretty busy, and there should be a few items actually on July 7th. So I just want to plan that for your schedule. And with that, I don't have any further feedback for the Planning Commission this evening.
You said July 7th meeting?
Correct, July 7th, I believe should be a Wednesday. Yes.
That's the first Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I have something to talk about in terms of a graduation as well. Sitting next to me is a 2020 graduate who had a master's degree in leadership. So I introduced you as our graduate.
We need to have a formal graduation. I think I have an extra cap and gown, so you can do the walk.
You can't brag about yourself, sorry. That's good, thank you. All right, if no further reports or anything, if we can just move to adjournment.
Jimenez, I motion.
And, oh, wait a minute. Commissioner Hammond will second it, yeah. Okay, that's fine.